Greetings, fellow DC fans. And look, I apologize. I did not start this up a couple days ago, but I just got sidetracked and I apologize. So anyway, so it's December, and you know what that means? That's right, it's DCEUcember 2022. So let's kick things off as we take a look at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thousands of years ago, Apocalyptian warlord Darkseid and his parademon attempt to conquer the Earth using three devices called Mother Boxes, but he is felled by an alliance of the Old Gods, Amazons, Atlanteans, humans, and a Green Lantern. Darkseid flees, leaving behind the boxes, which the Amazons, Atlanteans, and humans each guard. In the present, the death of Superman at the hands of Doomsday triggers the box's reactivation, attracting Steppenwolf, Darkseid's disgraced lieutenant. Steppenwolf aims to regain Darkseid's favor by gathering the boxes to form the Unity, which will terraform Earth into a copy of their homeworld. Steppenwolf reaches Themyscira through a portal and fights the Amazons to obtain their Mother Box. Diana Prince receives a warning from the Amazons that learns about Darkseid's assault on Earth and Steppenwolf. She informs Bruce Wayne as the two are seeking to form a team of metahumans in order to protect the planet. After failing to recruit Arthur Curry, Bruce locates Barry Allen, while Diana locates the cyborg Victor Stone. Barry joins while Victor refuses until his father, Silas, and other Starlab employees are kidnapped by parademons who seek the human's Mother Box. Steppenwolf kidnaps and kills the Atlantean guards while watching over their Mother Box and takes it, with only Mara and reluctant Arthur surviving the encounter. The team receives intelligence from Gotham City Police Commissioner James Gordon, leaving the Steppenwolf's forces in an abandoned underwater facility. Although the team rescues several kidnapped employees, the facility is flooded, trapping them until Arthur helps them escape. Victor retrieves the last Mother Box, which he had hidden. He reveals that it was used to rebuild his body after a car accident, and explains that the boxes can rearrange matter at the will of their users. The group realizes they could resurrect Superman using the box, though Steppenwolf will detect its use. Meanwhile, Steppenwolf receives a vision of the anti-life equation on Earth, a secret power sought by Darkseid to control all of existence, and informs him. The team exhibits Clark Kent's body and places it in the amniotic fluid of the Genesis chamber in a Kryptonian ship. After Barry activates the Mother Box, amnesiac Clark is resurrected. Attacking the group after Victor's cybernetics targets him in self-defense. Right as he is about to kill Batman, Lois Lane arrives to calm him down. They travel to his family home in Smallville, where he regains his memories. Steppenwolf retrieves the last Mother Box, but Silas sacrifices himself to supercharge it with laser heat, allowing Victor to track it. Without Superman, the five heroes travel to an abandoned Russian city, where Steppenwolf aims to form the Unity. They fight their way through the parademons, with Superman arriving in time to subdue Steppenwolf. Victor fails to prevent the Unity, however, and the planet begins to break apart. Barry enters the Speed Force before the shockwave reaches him, reversing time and giving Victor the necessary charge that allows him and Superman to prevent the Unity. Wonder Woman decapitates Steppenwolf, sending his head to Darkseid on Apocalypse through an opened portal. Darkseid vows to return to Earth to find the anti-life equation. In the epilogue, Bruce, Diana, and Alfred make plans to set up headquarters for the team at the desolated Wayne Manor. Bruce helps Clark settle back in at home, before resuming his double life in Metropolis. Arthur briefly meets Volko and Mara before riding off to see his father, and Barry informs his erroneously convicted father in prison that he has acquired a job in Central City's police department. Victor is inspired by an audio message left by his father to realize his purpose in life, while Diana contemplates returning home to Themyscira. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has escaped from Arkham Asylum and is visited on his yacht by Slade Wilson, to whom he reveals Batman's secret identity. In an additional scene before the credits, Bruce awakens from an apocalyptic dream of the future and receives a visit from the Martian Manhunter, who thanks him for assembling the team before promising to be in contact to prepare for Darkseid's return. Dun dun dun. So let's take a look at the history of this movie, beginning with the production of the original Justice League. Following the release of Man of Steel, director Zack Snyder outlined the basis of the DCEU, which centered around a 5-film arc including Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and a Justice League trilogy. Snyder's original vision was to have Batman v Superman be the darkest in the franchise, and have subsequent films become lighter in tone. However, Batman v Superman was poorly received, with criticism for its dark tone, lack of humor, and slow pace. Distributor Warner Brothers and Snyder reevaluated upcoming DCEU films, particularly Suicide Squad, which had already wrapped principal photography, and Justice League, which was a month away from filming. Snyder's screenwriter Chris Terrio rewrote Justice League to be lighter in tone. Cinematographer Fabian Wagner said Snyder wanted to get away from the stylized, desaturated, super high contrast looks of other films in the franchise. Principal photography for Justice League began in April 2016 and wrapped the following December. Months later, multiple cuts of Snyder's Justice League were shown to Warner Brothers executives, in addition to friends and family of Snyder. A final runtime and picture lock were achieved, though the cuts had incomplete visual effects shots and partial audio mixing. Snyder said that he had multiple cuts that were essentially done, only needed a few CG tweaks to complete. Forbes contributor and film's creator Mark Hughes reported that Snyder's cut was more than 90% complete, while the Daily Telegraph cited a visual effects expert as estimating that Warner Brothers would need another $30 to $40 million to finish the film. Warner Brothers executives who saw Snyder's cut felt that Snyder had made significant efforts to lighten the tone following the criticism of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Despite this, Warner Brothers wasn't happy with the results, and insider reports indicated that it considered the cut unwatchable. And now on to the whole Joss Whedon thing. After disapproving of Snyder's direction, Warner Brothers hired Joss Whedon, who directed the Marvel Cinematic Universe films The Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, to rewrite the script and help with extensive reshoots. Warner Bros. CEO Kevin Sugihara mandated that Justice League's length was not to exceed 2 hours. Warner Bros. Also decided to not push back the release date so that executives could keep their annual bonuses, and partly due to concerns that parent company AT&T might dissolve the studio after an upcoming merger. Snyder was expected to film the scenes that Whedon rewrote, and they're working together to meet Warner Brothers' request as Snyder's daughter, Autumn Snyder, died in March 2017. Though Snyder was actually open to Whedon rewriting the script, he eventually became more resistant as the studio gave Whedon more directing privileges, but as seeing his family deal with Autumn's death, Snyder did not challenge it. Snyder continued to work on Justice League for 2 months to distract himself before stepping down in May. His wife, Deborah Snyder, who was producing Justice League, also loved the project. Following his departure, Snyder saved the rough version of the cut, which did not go through post-production yet, on a hard drive. He kept it as a memento so he could show it to friends, or snippets of footage could be included in a documentary, as he thought that his version would not be released. Williams reported that Snyder had sent an editor in 2017 to retrieve materials related to the film on a hard drive. He was asked to return them as they were considered to be studio property, but refused to do so as he said the materials were for his personal use, and he was contractually obligated to have them. He later claimed he was not asked to return them. Sources said the security was notified, but no action was taken, as the studio did not expect Snyder would begin tinkering with an alternate cut of the film. Whedon assumed full control over the production, although Snyder retained directorial credit. Whedon added nearly 80 pages to the script, and Wagner estimates that Whedon's cut only uses about 10% of the footage that Snyder shot. Composer Tom Holkenborg completed his film score before being replaced by Danny Elfman halfway through post-production. Scenes that Whedon wrote or reshot for the theatrical release featured a brighter tone and more humor, and reduced the level of violence seen in Snyder's darker version. To meet the mandated runtime, more than 90 minutes of Snyder's footage was removed, but the result is still here to the basic outline of the story. While the initial cut was received by test audiences, the early shot of Whedon's cut scored as high as Wonder Woman, so Warner Bros. Decided to move forward with it. Now let's take a look at the release and reception of Justice League. Justice League was released theatrically on November 17, 2017. Critics described it as a Frankenstein film, obviously the work of two different directors with competing visions. After seeing Whedon's version in late 2017, Deborah Snyder and executive producer Christopher Nolan advised Snyder to never see that movie, knowing it would break his heart. Justice League grossed $657.9 million against an estimated $300 million budget. Against an estimated break-even point of as much as $750 million, Deadline Hollywood reported that the film lost Warner Brothers around $60 million. An anonymous Warner Brothers executive stated in February 2021 that even the studio did not like the stupefying changes brought to the finished film, criticizing the black-clad and the Russian family as goofy and pointless additions to the film. The executive affirmed that the finished film felt awkward because the studio did not want to admit what a piece of shit it had become. Due to the film's poor performance, Warner Brothers decided to move away from Snyder's vision for a shared universe of interconnected films and focus on standalone films and solo franchises instead. And now let's take a look at the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut movement. Immediately after the theatrical release of Justice League, which later gained the derisive nickname Justice League, fans created an online petition to release the Snyder Cut that gained more than 180,000 signatures. The movement, which used the hashtag Release the Snyder Cut on social media, began before fans had any knowledge that the Snyder Cut of Justice League actually existed. The movement was ignited by the theatrical version's mixed reviews. Fans knew Snyder had left directorial and editorial duties in Whedon's hands. Thus, they assumed Whedon created an inferior film. The circumstances were compared to those of Superman 2, whose initial director was also replaced by one who made substantial changes. Some assumed an alternate cut of Justice League was inevitable because some of Snyder's films have been re-released extended cuts for home media, such as Watchmen and Batman v Superman, which some critics considered superior to their theatrical version. Many members of the Justice League cast and crew showing support for Snyder Cut's release include actors Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ciarán Hinds, and Ray Fisher, photographer Clay Enos, storyboard artist Jay Olivia, cinematographer Wagner, and Affleck's stunt double Richard Citrone. Deborah Snyder said executive producers Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas encouraged the Snyders to make the Snyder Cut. Quote, "I think through this process it's been nice, because outside of Chris, Zack hadn't talked to a lot of people." On the 2-year anniversary of the theatrical release, cast and crew voiced support through social media. Other film and comic book industry figures not related to Justice League also support the release of the Snyder Cut, including filmmakers Kevin Smith and Alan Taylor, television producers Stephen S. DeKnight, and comic book writers Rob Liefeld, Robert Kirkman, and Jerry Ordway. Members of the Release the Snyder Cut movement engaged in acts of fan activism to promote it. In June 2018, fans reached out to executives at AT&T following a merger between the company and Warner. In June 2019, they reached out to new Warner Brothers CEO Ann Sarnoff, who replaced Sujihara after his resignation. Following that up a month later with a mass letter-writing campaign. In July 2019, they reached out to the parent company of Warner Brothers, Warner Media, after the announcement of its new streaming service, HBO Max. Ahead of the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con, a fan launched a crowdfunding campaign with half of the funds to be spent on an advertising campaign, including billboards and a flying banner ad promoting the Snyder Cut, and the other half to be donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. For a similar campaign at the 2019 New York Comic-Con, the movement purchased ad space on 2 billboards over Times Square featuring quotes from the members of the cast and crew. In December 2019, the movement rented another flying banner ad, this time passing over Warner Brothers Studios and directly asking Sarnoff to release the Snyder Cut. In June 2020, the movement bought 4 minutes of ad space advocating for the film's release on digital banner wrapped around the interior of Riverside Stadium during the FA Cup. Their efforts garnered praise from Snyder and the AFSP. Following the death of Snyder's daughter and his departure from Justice League, fans from the Release Snyder Cut movement began campaigns to raise money for suicide prevention. They wanted to raise over $500,000 for the AFSP in donations by February 2021. Robert Gebbia, CEO of the AFSP, praised fans' donations and subsequently released a statement commenting that, quote, "The Release Snyder Cut movement has created a true community of support, and their encouraging messages of hope will go a long way toward helping others know that they are not alone." And now to the revival. In March 2019, after months of speculation, Snyder confirmed that his original cut did exist and said it was up to Warner Brothers to release it. In November, an insider claimed that Warner Brothers was unlikely to release Snyder's version in any form, calling such hopes a pipe dream. However, the following month, Snyder posted a video in his Vero account showing boxes with tapes labeled ZSJL Director's Cut, with the caption, "Is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does." Robert Greenblatt, then Warner Media chairman head of HBO Max, stated that discussions around the release of Snyder's Justice League began in late 2019 and that they lasted a few months. The studio first approached Snyder to release his unfinished cut as he left it, but Snyder objected to doing so and insisted on either finishing it or not releasing it, leading Warner to take some months to decide whether to proceed. According to Snyder, Warner Media decided to move forward with the Snyder Cut in February 2020. Their chairman Toby Emmerich acknowledged the release of the Snyder Cut movement and reached out to Snyder. The Snyders invited executives from Warner Brothers, HBO Max, and DC to their home to view the Snyder Cut. Snyder also presented ideas, which included potentially reseeing the cut in episodes. Impressed, the executives decided to let the project proceed. Snyder began to reassemble the film's original post-production team to finish the cut. The effort was almost thwarted by the COVID-19 pandemic, which was escalating around the time, but the Snyders could push to continue with it. Snyder notified the original cast of the undertaking between April and May 2020. According to Snyder, Fisher was the first person he contacted, but initially thought Snyder was joking. On May 20th, 2020, Snyder announced during a Q&A after an online watch party of Man of Steel that his cut of Justice League would be released as Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max in 2021. Greenblatt said Warner Media tried to get the news out as quickly as possible before HBO Max launched on May 27th. Snyder, who had not yet seen the theatrical cut, described his cut as an entirely new thing and, especially talking to those who have seen the released movie, a new experience apart from that movie. The Snyders felt that being able to finally finish Justice League would bring them closure, and were excited by the prospect of expanding the film's character development. At that point, it was unclear what format Zack Snyder's Justice League would take for the release, whether it was a 4-hour-long film or a 6-part miniseries. The Hollywood Reporter wrote that it was expected to cost $20 to $30 million to complete the visual effects, score, and editing. However, Greenblatt indicated the release would be wildly expensive and cost more than reported $30 million to complete. On June 2020, Sandra Dewey, president of productions and business operations for Warner Media, stated in an interview that they were aiming for an early to mid-2021 release. In January 2021, Snyder confirmed that work on the cut had been completed. And now let's take a look at additional filming. While initial reports indicated that there would be no new material filmed, in September 2020, it was revealed that Snyder was preparing to shoot additional footage. Affleck and Fisher priced their roles for the shoot. The budget was estimated to have increased to $70 million due to the additional filming. The film began on October 6. Later that month, Amber Heard, Jared Leto, and Joe Manganiello joined the cast to reprise their DCE roles as Mara, the Joker, and Deathstroke, respectively. Snyder also directed an additional scene with Miller over Zoom while Miller was filming Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore in London by sending the crew drawings and diagrams of how he wanted the scene to look. Snyder's video feed played through a stand on a table, enabling him to direct Miller and the crew who filmed the scene on his behalf. Snyder estimated that only 4 to 5 minutes of footage was shot. Now let's take a look at the reactions. Some analysts were not optimistic about the chances for a new release. Sean Robbins, chief analyst at Box Office Pro, suggested the size of the movement was too small to make impact, stating, quote, "Another cut of Justice League just doesn't seem to be something many outside the diehard fanbase are clamoring to see." Industry insiders also called the Snyder Cut's release unlikely. Writer Mario F. Robles, based on his industry connections, said Warner Brothers did not trust Snyder's vision and was not willing to spend millions to finish his cut. Though throughout the movement, members of the media referred to the Snyder Cut as fabled or mythical. Members of the movement have also been described by various journalists as toxic for harassing, threatening, and cyberbullying those who expressed contrary opinions about the Snyder Cut. Joanna Desta of Vanity Fair broadly described the acts of fans demanding an alternative cut as a, quote, "modern pattern of audience demanding that's actually making fandoms more toxic," and compared it to the 2017 harassment of Star Wars The Last Jedi actress Kelly Marie Tran. In September 2018, former DC Entertainment president Diane Nelson deleted her Twitter account after a substantial online harassment by members of the movement. Warner Brothers telephone operators inundated inundated with regular calls about the Snyder Cut, were trained to treat them as prank calls. One fan managed to send a text message to Citrone regarding the existence of the Snyder Cut, which he responded to. However, the fan posted a screenshot with an altered version of the messages, also claiming that Citrone had confirmed the existence of the Snyder Cut. Brandon Katz of the New York Observer said that the movement was exposed to both toxic DC fans that hurl vitriol harassment at any and all opposition, and supportive moviegoers that generally enjoy Snyder's style and are just hoping to see the conclusion of his trilogy that began in 2013's Man of Steel. As with any contention, they are both extremist and level-headed individuals in its ranks. End quote. Bob Rehog, Swarthmore College Associate Professor and Chair of Film and Media Studies, said that fandoms such as Release the Snyder Cut revolt when a major change is made to something they love, and that this reaction usually comes from a smaller subsection of the fandom, which paints the whole community with a really broad brush. In July 2022, Rolling Stone reported that Warner Media had discovered via internal investigations that at least 32% of the accounts that took part in the conversation about the Snyder Cut were deemed fake, well above the 3 to 5% that some experts say they typically stand in a trending topic. Rolling Stone also spoke out with more than 20 people involved with both versions of the film. Most of them believe that Snyder was working to manipulate the ongoing campaign. And now let's take a look at the revival and follow-up movements. The announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League was celebrated by the Release the Snyder Cut movement, with many fans expressing their enthusiasm on social media. Some Snyder fans uploaded videos of them destroying their DVD and Blu-ray copies of the theatrical release. Many industry figures, such as cast members of Justice League, expressed their gratitude to the fans who supported the release of Snyder's version of the film. However, some journalists expressed concern that Warner Media was conceding to fans who had engaged in forms of harassment and trolling during the movement, which they feared would set a negative precedent. Screamer wrote that it sent the message that fan pressuring can work to influence film studios, networks, or streaming services. In response to this concern, HBO Max CEO Tony Goncalves reiterated the passion of the fandom and denied such claims, affirming that it's business they listen to demand from consumers. Following the release of the film, fans expressed their appreciation on social media. Fans began a new movement, Restore the Snyderverse, which advocated for Warner Bros. And Snyder to complete this original planned Justice League trilogy. Another movement, Release the Ayer Cut, also started trending as well, with fans advocating for Warner Bros. To release director David Ayer's original cut of Suicide Squad. And now finally, let's take a look at some differences from the theatrical version. While the basic framework of the story is the same, numerous scenes are included to expand upon the characters, mythos, and world-building elements. Teasers from films are also present in Snyder's version. Snyder's version does not use any of the scenes shot by Whedon for his version of Justice League. Former Warner Brothers executives John Burke and Jeff Johns, who oversaw the production for Whedon's version, had their credits removed for Snyder's version. Snyder stated that his version is not set in the same continuity as Whedon's, which remained the canonical version of the film. However, Jason Momoa said that Aquaman takes place after Snyder's version rather than Whedon's. Similarly, Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins said that no DC director considers Whedon's Justice League canonical, and that she had worked with Snyder to ensure that Wonder Woman maintained continuity with his film. Despite these sentiments, there are some apparent contradictions between Aquaman and Zack Snyder's Justice League relating to the backstory of the character Mara. So overall, even though I haven't seen Snyder Cut of Justice League yet, I know I have it on DVD, but I still have yet to watch it. From what I've read, I think that this version is definitely better than the original cut. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. So there you go. So overall, I give Zack Snyder's Justice League 5 bat signals out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take a look at the next film in the DCEU, which is Aquaman. So until then, in the words of Superman, I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.